Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Patriot Nation TV. I'm your host, Tim Davis, your New Age Patriot with a 1776 attitude. It is Tuesday, June 1st, 2021. Tonight's video is going to be a three-part series where I outline and talk about three Nazi programs that America adapted. Operation Paperclip, Operation Mockingbird, and the Nazi eugenics plan, aka eugenics, Planned Parenthood, CDC, and the WHO, the WHO. So let me start off by saying this. We all know at the end of World War II, America and the Allies defeated Hitler and the Third Reich. But did we defeat Nazis and Nazism and fascism? Or did they just simply move to America? Now the question is, was Operation Paperclip actually one of the biggest blemishes in American history? Or was it a difficult decision that had to be made in the name of progress and under the guises of safety and security? You know, the scientists ended up in the U.S. military-industrial complex, which President Eisenhower warned us about. It also worked with the CIA, NASA, and many more. One of the Nazi experiments that continued in America was mind control. Operation Mockingbird, known as the CIA's pet project, MK Ultra. But tonight's episode is inside Operation Paperclip, America's secret program that employed 1,600 Nazi scientists into its labs. During Operation Paperclip, the records of premier German scientists were expunged so that they could secretly work in American labs to give the U.S. a leg up on the Soviets in the Cold War as World War II ended. In the immediate wake of World War II, the Allies were widely venerated in their role in ending the reign of the Third Reich. But the Allied powers also made controversial decisions in secret that were kept classified for decades. Perhaps their most secretive action was the creation of Operation Paperclip, a covert intelligence project that brought over 1,600 Nazi scientists to the United States for research. At the end of the war, the Allies scrambled to collect German intelligence and technology that may otherwise fall into the hands of the Soviet Union, as an impending Cold War threatened to destroy the hard-won peace. The United States granted a slew of Nazi scientists immunity for their war crimes and genocide so that they could work in the labs instead of the Russian labs. Work in our labs. Though these scientists were responsible for such milestones such as the Apollo 11 moon landing missions, was America justified in its decisions to pardon war criminals in exchange for political advantage? I don't know. You tell me. So what happened? It's a thing called. What happened was, the Nazis had a list. One of the Nazi scientists, Ossenberg, he made a list. It was the depth of Nazi research. Despite numerous costly efforts, from the siege of Leningrad to the Battle of Stalingrad, Nazi Germany failed to beat back the USSR as World War II wound down. As the Third Reich's resources neared depletion, Germany became desperate for a new strategic approach against the Red Army. Thus brings us to 1943. Nazi Germany collected its most invaluable assets: scientists, mathematicians, engineers, technicians, and 4,000 rocketeers, and stationed them all together in the Baltic seaport of Peenemünde in northern Germany to develop a technological defense strategy against the Russians. Werner Ossenberg, the head of Germany's Defense Research Association, was responsible for determining which scientists to recruit by creating an exhaustive, thoroughly researched roster. The scientists had to be considered sympathetic to, or at least compliant with, Nazi ideology in order to be invited. Naturally, this index came to be known as the Ossenberg list. Meanwhile, the U.S. had become increasingly more aware of the Nazis' covert biological weapons program. As they became increasingly more aware of it, the discovery of these scientific efforts shocked the U.S. into a different action, a whole new action during the war. They had no idea that Hitler had created this whole arsenal of nerve agents. They had no idea that Hitler was working on a bubonic plague weapon. That is really where Paperclip began, which was suddenly where the Pentagon realizing, wait a minute, we need these weapons for ourselves. That's what they thought. In 1945, as the Allies began to reclaim territory all across Europe, they also began confiscating German intelligence and technologies for themselves. Then in March of that year, 1945, a Polish lab technician discovered pieces of the Ossenberg list hastily stuffed into a Bonn University toilet and delivered to the U.S. intelligence. And this is where establishing Operation Paperclip was. At first, the United States was concerned merely with the capturing and interrogating the scientist identified on Ossenberg list in a mission called Operation Overcast. But as the United States discovered the extent of Nazi technology, this plan rapidly changed. Instead, the United States would collect and recruit these men as well as their families to continue their research for the American government. And so on May 22nd, 1945, Allied troops invaded Peenemünde and captured the men who were hard at work there on the V-2 rocket, which was the world's first long-range guided ballistic missile. A newfound Joint Intelligence Objective Agency, the JIOA, and the Office of Strategic Services, the OSS, which was eventually rebranded the CIA, was responsible for putting the program now officially called Operation Paperclip into action. However, even though President Truman, while he was signing the Atomic Energy Bill, had sanctioned the project, he had also ordered that the program could not recruit any documented Nazis. But when the JIOA realized that many of the men they wanted off the Ossenberg list were actually Nazi sympathizers, they were Nazis themselves, they found a way to circumvent the law. The JIOA chose not to vet any researchers before they were brought into the U.S., and only once they had arrived. They also whitewashed or erased incriminating evidence from their records. We see it all the time. So the Nazi scientists, I have a list of 105 of them. I can name them all, but I'm not going to do it. But if you want me to do it, I'll do it. The Nazi scientists behind the project Among the scientists that were recruited under Operation Paperclip was premier German rocket scientist Wernher von Braun, who also forced prisoners from the Buchenwald concentration camp to work on his rocket program. Many of them died from overwork and starvation, yet Braun would go on to become the director of NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center. When they were running low on good technicians, von Braun himself, nearby to the Buchenwald concentration camp, where he handpicked slaves to work for him. He is a great example because you wonder where the devil with the devil really happened in terms of whitewashed history and whitewashed past. The U.S. government, NASA in particular, and later on the CIA, was so complicit in keeping his past hidden. Von Braun was nearly awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom during the Ford administration, only to objections of senior advisors made Ford reconsider. Upon arriving in the United States in 1945, von Braun worked on rocketry at the U.S. Army in Fort Bliss, Texas. There, he oversaw the launching of several V-2 test flights. Von Braun was transferred to NASA in 1960, where he helped the agency to launch its first satellites into orbit on July 20th, 1969, as part of America's effort to win the space race. By this point, he had been accepted by U.S. officials as an invaluable mind, and he lived the rest of his life in peace until dying of pancreatic cancer in 1977. While he had certainly been the most famous of the German scientists, nearly every key department at the Marshall Space Flight Center was filled with former Nazis, such as Kurt Dubus, a former SS member for the Nazi Germany, a former SS member of Nazi Germany ran the launch site now known as the Kennedy Space Center. Others like Otto Ambros, Adolf Hitler's favorite chemist, were tried at Nuremberg for mass murder and slavery, but given clemency in order to help America's space exploration effort. The man was later given a contract with the U.S. Department of Energy. Convicted, tried in the Nuremberg trials, but was given clemency. And this brings us to in the wake of the Project Paperclip. Much of Operation Paperclip's history remains unknown. But the most up-to-date, informative work on the subject was a book written in 2014. The author was, I believe her name was Annie Jacobson. It's a pretty good book. I read it a while ago. I haven't read it in a while. I mean, I skimmed through it. I shouldn't say I read it. I just skimmed through it. So anyway, throughout the latter part of last century, many journalists have attempted to uncover more about Operation Paperclip. With the help of the CIA, they call everybody conspiracy theorists and stuff like that. But their requests for the documents were often met with lawsuits and denial. When a few requests were finally honored, countless documents were missing. Many of the German researchers whose Holocaust-related atrocities were simply expunged by the JIOA later went on to work for the CIA in Operation Mockingbird and MK Ultra, a top-secret program backed by the CIA, whose main objective was to generate mind-controlled drugs to use against the Russians, so they say, in propaganda, the media. Apologists for Operation Paperclip might claim that the JIOA only sought to bring over benign scientists But this is demonstrably false. In 2005, the interagency working group established by Bill Clinton, he established in like 1997, 1998, determined in a final report to Congress that the notion that the U.S. military and the military industrial complex and the U.S.A. employed only a few bad apples. A few bad apples. You always hear that term, a few bad apples, right? Will not stand up to the new documentation. Read her book. Does not stand up to it. The threat of the Cold War may have convinced certain and many Americans powers that granting clemency to Nazi scientists was acceptable. But was Operation Paperclip actually one of the biggest blemishes in American history? You tell me. Leave a comment. Or was it a difficult decision that had to be made in the name of progress, under the guises of safety and security? You know, it's a two-headed sword. So that's basically, you know, the rundown of Operation Paperclip. You got to ask yourself: yes, we defeated Hitler. Yes, we defeated the Third Reich. But did the Nazis lose? Or did they simply move to America? I don't know. You tell me. So this is episode 1 of a 3-part series I'm going to do. Stay tuned to next week. I'll do Operation Mockingbird. We'll get into the details of that. I'll also post in my upper left-hand corner a video I did. I think it was a very good video. But I was being shadow banned at the time, so it didn't really get a lot of viewership. It's called 1984 or A Brave New World. Why not both? Check it out. Connects the dots with what I'm doing today in this 3-part mini-series. So if you're new to the show, please hit like, hit subscribe. If you're a follower, leave a comment. And at the end of this 3-piece series I'm going to do, I'm going to end it with the 4th one, and I do have a couple of guests, and I really do have a couple of guests that are going to come on. They want to talk about this, you know, conspiracy theorists and stuff like that. But it's ain't a conspiracy. That's actual reality. It really actually happened. So I'm going to put them all 3 together, and eventually on the 4th show of this, we'll do a live show with a couple of guests. We'll talk about everything that I do in this 3 mini-series. So hope you guys enjoyed the show. And hope it was informative, in case you didn't know a lot of things. Operation Paperclip is a real thing. It really happened. And I guess I'm going to tune out, guys. Like always, I'm going to say God bless. God bless you. God bless America. I'll talk to you guys soon. Stay tuned for episode 2, Operation Mockingbird. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.